for iOS and a BlackBerry Playbook. I've got an Android phone, an Apple phone, 2 Android phones. So it's a nightmare. How do you develop your websites for these? And not only how do you develop your website for that, oh, what happens when someone does that? It's a nightmare. So how do you actually do that? So I'm going to talk about a couple of things today about things that we've done inside Dreamweaver CS5.5 that really allow you to optimize your website for mobile devices. And this is websites that you may have built in the past. It might be websites that you're starting to build now, but I'll show you some ways where you can start to optimize those websites for devices. And also how you can start to use HTML5 and CSS3 and some jQuery stuff as well. I've lost my glasses. I'll do that. Okay. Cool. So I've basically got a website here sitting in a browser that I've designed. Looks really cool on the desktop. It's actually using a whole bunch of HTML5 and CSS3. It's all built in HTML5. Some of the elements of that, you'll notice that the banner at the top of it is semi-transparent. Oh, that's CSS3. How cool is that? You'll notice that these blocks down here are also these. It's a bit hard to tell on this screen, but you can see these white columns are also semi-transparent. They've got rounded corners. How cool is that? So you see the little badge at the top there, the little Paladin Season Premiere. I'll tell you a secret. It's a box. You think I'm kidding, don't you? It's a box. It's a square with rounded corners and rotated. Oh my God. The things you can do, it's so cool. But this looks really good on a desktop, but what happens when I start opening this up on my mobile phone or on a tablet? Well, let's have a look and see what happens. So let's just shrink it down to the size of a tablet. Oh my God. It's now optimized for a tablet. The same page. Is that cool? It's the same HTML page, but it looks really good on a tablet. What happens if I shrink it down to the size of a mobile phone? Oh my God. Let me just jump across and just show you that I'm not lying. This site's actually out. Let me just see if I can find my camera here. Turn my camera on. So there it is sitting on a tablet. I can sort of zoom down, see all the content sitting on there. Here it is on my, so that's an iPad that's running on. This is, yeah, there it is running on an Android phone. Same site, you just open it up in the different pages. If I turn my phone around, it now opens up in the next size that matches that. So it's oh, you probably couldn't see the thing, huh? Okay. So how did I do it? It's magic. That's what it is. It's just magic. Now, basically we've built into Dreamweaver CS5.5 full support for the current version of HTML5 and CSS3. When I say the current version, it's still not ratified, it still might change a bit. I think it's pretty close. But we built in full support for that. But we've also built in a whole bunch of other things as well. But let me show you some of that. Crunch. Okay, I'll jump into Dreamweaver, and the first thing I said, we've added full support for HTML5. The first part of this took our developers. Let me create a new page. And if I go to a blank page, choose HTML, now we've added down inside here, we've added HTML5. This took our developers. Let me just show you what it does when I create it. Let's just go create. Let's look at the source code and zoom in. In order to make this HTML5, we had to do that. That took us minutes. That took our developers, gosh, 2 or 3 minutes to do that. But basically that's now an HTML5 page. That's what the doc type looks like in HTML5. But we also added some more. You'll notice that down inside here, if I zoom in, we've got now some templates for you. So if you've never worked in HTML5 before, we've actually put together a couple for you that will give you some really good best practice ways of using HTML5. So remember the design that I had for the web page. Let's just jump back to it again and stretch it out to its page size. So remember on here, I've got the banner that goes all the way across. Then I've got sort of like a big content column and then a couple of smaller columns and my footer sitting down the bottom. So I want to build a page, I want to build that page. So what I'm going to do is actually jump in here and use the 3-column one. Now you might go, well, that looks nothing like the page. Well, sort of like it, but not really like the page. But what I'm going to do is just create that page, and if I just go to the design view, you go, well, it's nothing like it. But all of the content on these template pages tell you what to do and how to use them. They're templates. Please don't publish your website looking like this. They're templates. So basically, and this is a little bit geeky now, can I just find out how many of you are my geeky friends who write HTML and CSS, who actually get in there, get your hands dirty in the code? Okay, yeah, so you don't mind. I'll just bear with the rest of us geeky people for a moment. I'm just going to go to the split view, and there's a few things. So one of the things I'll just show you, if I zoom in here, you'll notice that now I've got things like section and asides. These are all HTML5 tags, and just make it a little bit easier. Whoa, that's just code frenzy, isn't it? So, you know, we've got all these things like now nav. Nav is now, you know, I used to have to write, you know, something like div ID equals nav. Now it's just nav. It's awesome. But basically, so what happened on my page, I had the nav sitting up in the header. So let's just grab the nav and sit that up inside the header. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so it's now sitting up inside the header. It's vertical, but I can change it to horizontal later. That's just awesome. I've also got this aside sitting in this side here, and I want to move it over to the other side. So I've got my two little sides. Let's just grab that aside there. Let's cut. Let's zoom down. And just after the main article, let's paste in my aside there. Now I'm going to have a bit of an error on here because I've still got that div down the side. So let's just delete that div, just remove that div out of there. And now if I go to design view, is it getting closer? Here's my two little columns, my big column. Oh, my banner's not across the top, so let's just go back to split view again. And let's just grab all of my header and let's just move that out of the container so it's sitting up here. And now if I go to design view, I've now got that going all the way across the screen, and I've started my 3 columns. I can go into that and start to design it to look like my site. So really, I mean, none of that is really that tricky. It's just that there's full support for HTML5 in there. I've actually, let's not save that. Let's open up a page that I've gone a little bit further with. And you'll see, here's the square. You thought I was lying. There's the square. But basically, I can put rounded corners on that div and rotate it a little bit using CSS3. The cool thing is, inside Dreamweaver, and this has been there for a while, how many of you are using Dreamweaver CS5? CS4? CS3? Do you know when CS3 was released? I think the current phone at the time, like the current Nokia phone at the time, was one of those ones where the screen was this big at the top and with the keyboard on it, was when CS3 was released. I can't even remember the model number, but it was, I don't think you'll find one around anymore. But anyway, hey, look, if you want to spend lots and lots and lots of time working in CS3, that's cool. Okay, so basically we've added, since CS3, you guys won't recognise this big live view button. What is that? So you guys who are working in CS3 currently, you're building your site in Dreamweaver, you build a page, you then go test in browser. It then opens up your browser, you look at it and go, it's all right, I want to change that. You close your browser, you go back to Dreamweaver, you make a change, you go test in browser, you go back to the browser and do that again, don't you? That's how you work. Do this big round trip thing all the time. Or you could just click the live view button and just use the browser that's sitting inside Dreamweaver. So we've got now the latest WebKit browser sitting inside Dreamweaver, which is fully HTML5 compatible web browser sitting inside there. Now, I haven't finished this page. You're going, well, the edges aren't round. I want round edges. but you'll see the transparency at the top. You'll see now my circle, my box is a circle and twisted around. Let's do a couple of extra things with the page.